me see. Alas, poor York. I knew him. Horatio, a fellow of infinite jest, of most excellent fancy. He hath borne me on his back 1,000 times, and now how abhorred in my imagination it is. My gorge rises at it. Here hung those lips I had kissed, now oft. Where be your guides now? Your gambols, your songs, your flashes of merriment that were wont to set the tables on a roar? Not one now to mock your own grinning. Quite chapful, now get you to my lady's chamber, and tell her, let her paint an inch thick, to this favor she must come. Make her laugh at that, prithee, Horatio. Tell me one thing.
What's that, my lord, my dude?
Dost thou think Alexander looked up this passionate earth?
Even so.
And smelt so?
Even so, my lord.
To what base uses we may return, Horatio? Why may not imagination trace the noble dust of Alexander till he find it stopping a bunghole?
'Twere to consider, too curiously to consider so.
No faith, not a jot, but to follow him thither with modesty enough and likelihood to lead it. As thus Alexander died, Alexander was buried, Alexander returned to dust. The dust is earth. Of earth we make loam. Why of that loam whereto he was converted might they not stop a beer barrel? Imperious Caesar, dead and turned to clay, might stop a hole to keep the wind away. Oh, that earth, which kept the word in awe, should patch a wall to expel the winter's flaw.
Dude, the devil should totally take your soul. Come at me.
Well, I appreciate the biggest of my
Gentlemen!
Let me see. Alas, poor York. I knew him, Horatio, a fellow of just most excellent fancy. He hath torn me on his back 1,000 times, and now how abhorred in my imagination it is. My gorge riseth at it. Here hung those lips I have kissed, I know not how oft. Where be our guides now? Their gambols, their songs, their flashes of merriment that were wont to set the table on a roar. Not one now to mock your own grinning, quite chapfallen. Now get you to my lady's chamber, and let her paint an inch thick. To this favor she must come. Make her laugh at that. Prithee, Horatio, tell me one thing.
What's that, my lord?
Does thou think Alexander looked on this fashionate earth?
Even so.
Smelt so.
Even so, my lord.
What base uses me I return, Horatio? Why may not imagination trace the noble dust of Alexander until he find it stopping a bunghole?
'Twere to consider, too curiously to consider so.
No faith, not a jot, to follow him thither with modesty enough and likelihood to lead it. As thus Alexander died, Alexander was buried, Alexander returneth to dust. The dust is earth, of earth we make loam, and why of that loam where Jew was converted might they not stop a beer barrel? Imperious Caesar, dead and turned to clay, might stop a hole to keep the wind away. Oh, that earth which kept the world in awe should patch a wall to expel the winter's flaw.
meant the devil to take it his soul.
Now praise the Lord.
Gentlemen!
Let me see. Alas, poor York. I knew him. Horatio, a fellow of infinite jest, of most excellent fancy. He hath bore me on his back 1,000 times, and now how abhorred in my imagination it is. My gorge rises at it. Here hung those lips that I have kissed, I know not now how oft. Where be her gibes now, her gambols, her songs, her flashes of merriment that were wont to set the tables on a war. Not one now to mock your own grinning. What, chat falling? Now get to you, to my lady's chamber, and tell her, let her paint an inch thick to this favor she must come. Make her laugh at that. For thee, Horatio, tell me one thing.
What's that, my lord?
Dost thou think Alexander looked o' this fashioneth earth,
Even so.
and smelt so? Pah!
Even so, my lord.
To what base uses we may return, Horatio? Why may not imagination trace the noble dust of Alexander till we find it stopping a bunghole?
'Twere to consider too curiously to consider so.
No, faith, not a jot, but to follow him thither with modesty enough and likelihood to lead it. As thus Alexander died. Alexander was buried, Alexander returneth to dust. The dust is earth, of earth we make loam. And why of that loam whereto he was converted, might they not stop a beer barrel? Imperious Caesar, dead and turned to clay, might stop a hole to keep the wind away. Oh, that earth which kept the world in awe should patch a wall to expel the winter's flaw.
The devil should take your soul.
I presume to take thy fingers from my throat.
Let me see. Alas, poor York! I knew him, Horatio, a fellow of infinite jest, of most excellent fancy. He hath bore me on his back 1,000 times, and now how abhorred in my imagination it is. My gorge riseth at it. Here hung those lips I have kissed, and now I know not how oft. Where be your gibes now, your gambols, your songs, your flashes of merriment that were wont to set the tables on war? Not one now to mock your own grinning. Quite chapfallen. Now get you to my lady's chamber and tell her. Let her paint an inch thick to this favor she must come. Make her laugh at that. For thee, Horatio, tell me one thing.
What's that, my lord?
Dost thou think Alexander looked of this fashion earth,
Even so.
and smelt so?
Even so, my lord.
To what base uses we may return, Horatio? Why may not imagination trace the noble dust of Alexander till we find it stopping? Oh.
'Twere to consider too curiously to consider so.
No faith. follow him thither. Modesty enough and likelihood deleted. As thus Alexander died, Alexander was buried. Alexander returned to dust. The dust is earth. Of earth we make loam. And why of that loam whereto he was converted might they not stop of your burial? Furious Caesar, dead and turned to clay, might stop a hole to keep the wind away. Oh, that earth which kept the world in awe should patch a wall, expel the winters.
The devil should totally take your soul, bro.
I pray it's not well. I'm ready to take my fingers from my...
Gentlemen!
Let the devil to take his soul.
I'm a beautiful butterfly!
Let the devil take your soul.